Good evening and thank you for watching Fox 31 News at 10. I'm Greg Loyd, in tonight for Victoria DeCardenas. Well, all intensive care unit beds at Tift Regional Medical Center are full, and now the hospital is having to divert EMS patients to other healthcare providers. This is due to the growing number of COVID-19 patients coming in. Ariel Mallory spoke with officials at the hospital regarding the impact this has on the community.
Tift Regional has upgraded to a purple status, meaning that there will be no outside visitors allowed in at this time. This is in effect due to the recent surge in COVID-19 cases in the area.
Our ICU currently has 20 beds, and we always keep it pretty full on a regular basis. But starting around Monday of this week, we really hit a crunch point.
And out of all those COVID patients coming in, officials say more than 80% are unvaccinated, leaving doctors urging more people to stop waiting to get the vaccine.
We feel like if vaccinations were closer to 100% in the community, that a lot of the admissions that we have would not be here right now. There are some patients that are just more prone to being sick, and so that's why we're seeing the other 16%. But I believe 100% of everyone in our ICU is unvaccinated.
In an effort to protect as many patients as possible, Tift Regional is diverting EMS patients to other nearby hospitals. So what does this mean if you need to come in and be seen?
If someone walks in from the street or comes in by a car and walks in our ER waiting room, we will take care of them, we will treat them, and do everything we can to make sure that they get treated and are stabilized. Diversion is really just try to keep a lot of the EMS traffic away from us and divert to other hospitals in our area, so that way those patients who are on the EMS truck, who are usually more sick, can get more timely care.
Reporting in Tifton, Ariel Mallory.
And Tift Regional Medical Center is now putting restrictions on visitations. Tift Regional facilities are now upgraded to purple, meaning visitors are not allowed except in special cases. That includes labor and delivery, pediatric patients, and in cases of required assistance. As for Southwell Medical and their facilities, they now stand at red. This means COVID negative patients are all allowed one designated visitor. COVID positive patients will not be allowed visitors except for labor and delivery. In Albany, Phoebe Putney Health System says they're seeing a huge increase in COVID patients. The facilities went from just 8 cases to 97 in just 4 weeks. That's more than a 1,000% jump. Now, due to the increase, Phoebe has limited patients to just one visitor. This comes just days after the health system announced that all employees will have to get vaccinated or undergo weekly testing. Not everybody wants a show of force when it comes to employee vaccinations. As medical reporter Liz Bonus explained, some say they would prefer to help employees overcome hesitancy with science.
Hey there, everybody. Hello to you. As more and more healthcare systems tell workers they must be vaccinated to stay employed, some are choosing to delay that decision, at least for now. And it appears there's a variety of reasons for that.
The first reason? Fear of losing good workers when staffing ratios are tight, especially in some long-term care facilities where the vaccination trend is heading in the right direction.
We have some recent numbers specific to the skilled nursing facilities from the CDC from last week. 75% of the physicians are vaccinated, 57% of the nurses, and 48% of the STNAs.
Shane Craycraft says whether or not vaccines will be mandatory, one of the top questions from families on their healthcare management group COVID-19 hotline right now. But the second reason they are not making vaccines mandatory, their trade group says one size does not fit all.
It is a possibility, but at this point I think that they have left the determination up to the individual facilities to make those decisions rather than doing it as a profession.
Awaiting full FDA approval is the third reason some are choosing to delay a vaccine mandate. While benefit over risk has clearly been established,
there's never been a vaccine that has been more widely studied and more tested, if you will, than this vaccine.
The long-term data many await has not yet been released. Finally, the lack of information from the CDC about natural immunity, or those who've already had the virus, has some delaying a decision to force vaccines. Although CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky told Sinclair's James Rosen,
We have a paper that's coming out later today that demonstrates that if you have been infected before, your chances of reinfection are about twice as high if you don't get vaccinated.
Now, this could change as numbers needed to reach herd immunity go up. Many say as the virus mutates and changes, it gets more dangerous. And that means it may be 80% or 8 out of 10 of us that would have to be immune to stop the spread. And we'd either have to get that by getting the infection or getting the vaccine. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonus. Now back to you.
Hey there, everybody. Joe Spear here in the Skywatch Weather Center. When it comes to our overall setup, the stationary front that was down towards our south yesterday has now breached and is nearly splitting across parts of southwest Georgia, making its way here, cutting across the Peach State overall, bringing a little bit of rain into our area and a fair amount of clouds here today as well. Everything from roughly 6 to 9 o'clock, pushing out of the south, moving up towards the northeast, following along that stationary front. But it really hasn't been all that intense. Sure, there were a couple thunderstorms early this afternoon, but now we're just dealing with some lingering showers here across parts of southwest Georgia. Rain totals today across most of Georgia. Most of it was down towards the south and over towards the east. So compared to what the rest of the state has seen, we really remained relatively dry here today. A look at what the almanac looks like. 85 degrees is all we got up to today. Should have at least been into the 90s, somewhere around 93 degrees. Of course, that puts us a ways away from breaking any records here when it comes to our daytime high. Even our daytime low, a little bit below average, but in the grand scheme of things, you could call it close enough to being around normal. 74 is where we should have been. 72 is what we got to today. Precipitation, like I said, not many of us saw anything, and if we did, it wasn't all that much. Over towards Albany, we measured 0.04 inches of rain. Our August total still sits at roughly 1.2 inches here for the month so far. So an idea of what's coming up for tomorrow, the start of the weekend. Still looking at a little bit of wet weather here in parts of southwest Georgia. Starting off on the cloudy side, some rain breaks in closer towards the late morning hours, but we dry out by the time the evening rolls around. Temperatures once again stuck towards the 80s. Likely some of us will get towards the lower 90s, but across the board we'll stay below average with a couple clouds here to end off Saturday. So what's in store for us for the rest of this half hour weather-wise? The rain chances ahead. We have a little bit coming tomorrow. What can we expect for the end of the weekend and into next week here as well? Been consistently below average with our temperatures. We've been cooling off. So are we at least going to get to normal stuff when it comes to the next 10 days? We'll get the answer to that in your 10-day forecast. Plus, we'll break down all the details of what you could expect here for this weekend. Greg?
All right, thank you so much, Joe. Well, the July jobs numbers are out, and it shows the economy is recovering. The White House says it's encouraged by better than expected news, but warns coronavirus cases could impact those gains, while Republicans warn against too much government spending. Fox's Lauren Blanchard is in Washington with more.
The Biden plan is working. The Biden plan produces results, and the Biden plan is moving the country forward.
A big July jobs report out of the Labor Department. The latest numbers show 943,000 jobs were added last month, beating expectations. The unemployment rate down by 0.5% to 5.4, a sign the economy is recovering.
A very encouraging number, so hopefully that trend will continue.
The biggest job gains in leisure and hospitality and local government, with construction numbers also up. Labor force participation is at 61.7%. Still, 8.7 million people remain unemployed.
I predict we're going to continue to see more people enter the workforce because that's the biggest problem right now.
Economists are concerned the rise in the Delta variant could slow what has been months of promising growth.
This is something that we haven't experienced in this country in 100 years. This is not a normal recession. This is not something that's predictable.
The report also shows inflation is rising faster than hourly wages.
It's a silent tax. You make a 5% increase on your wage, but you're losing, a percent because inflation's going up at 6%.
Republicans say massive spending bills in Congress will cut into recent gains, as the administration says the money is necessary to continue growth.
If we've got an economy that's in really a full-scale recovery right now, why in the world is the federal government talking about spending $4 trillion? It's the dumbest thing.
The unemployment rate is 2% higher, with 2 million more people unemployed than before the pandemic, showing there is still more recovery to go. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
The generational divide accounts for a lot, but it might not explain the employment gap. I'm Angela Brown in Washington. Why jobs may be harder to find the older you get.